Hello, I'm Erin Marcus, founder and CEO of Conquer Your Business, and I want to welcome you to Ready Yet? If all you needed was a step-by-step plan of what to do, you could buy a book on how to succeed and you would be all set. But here's the rub. You'll never do what it takes until you become the person it takes to do it. The Ready Yet podcast is dedicated to those who are ready to become the person who succeeds, ready to become the person who steps into more, and ready to become the best version of themselves. In the I'm Ready interview series, join me for inspiring conversations with people who figured out who they needed to be in order to achieve their dreams, and were brave enough to be that person. Welcome to this episode of the Ready Yet podcast, where we have conversations with people who have figured out and are embracing the fact of being the person it takes to do what they need to do in order to succeed. So I'm very excited. Marsha and I are already laughing. This will be interesting if we can even get through the conversation. But Marsha Gleit is here with me, and I don't know, we kind of made googly eyes across a crowded Zoom room at each other some time ago. And my favorite part about, and we'll get into what you do in a second, but I think my favorite part about how we started our relationship is you came to a workshop that I did, and then you repeatedly canceled your follow-up calls with me over and over again. And then you called me, we got on the phone, and you're like, I've been avoiding you because I wasn't ready. I know we have to do this. And that was, the beginning of working together. And I love it because one of the things I really, really like about you is how openly you embrace all the things that mess you up. And I'm the same way. Like, if I can't laugh at all the ways I mess myself up, then I'd be miserable, right? So before we go into that, and why don't you give a nice introduction of who you are and what you do in your own
I'm just laughing, Erin. Thank you so much for having me today, because you just told the story right before we started about how we were working together. It was almost 4 months, okay? And I said to Erin, I don't know what I do. And she goes, what do you mean you don't know what you do? And she, instead of telling me what I do, she said, go listen to those recordings of our sessions. So here's what I do. I'm Marsha Gleit, and I am the Unstuck Coach. I get you from being stuck to success. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean? I take my 30 years experience in corporate finance and accounting and my coaching toolbox, and I put it together to give you business strategies, life strategies to put the fun back in your business and the happiness back into your life.
Ta-da!
Ta-da!
You know exactly what you do, and I know you're awesome at doing it, and that's why we have fun. And so one of the things you said that's very true, because I'm a big believer of, walk your talk. One of your big teaching points is that a lot of entrepreneurs and businesses don't do as well as they could be because there's no fun. They're not having any fun. And we both know not every day is fun. Things don't work. Things get frustrating. Things get overwhelming. However, it is a choice to stay in that mindset or to lift yourself up and have a good time to the extent that you can. And somehow, and it's such a stereotype, so I don't even want to go there, but like corporate accounting and finance is not the first thing that comes to mind, at least my mind. And I have the financial services background too, but it's not the first thing that comes to my mind when I would think about, wow, I wonder what background a coach that teaches business success via having more fun would have. Not the first thing that comes to mind. Probably not even the top 5. So explain to us a little bit, because a lot of times I talk to people who feel that they don't have the right experience, or their personal journey doesn't make sense for them to then do X, Y, Z. You're a freaking perfect example that is just a story.
It is just a story. And I love that because it's the lie. I talk a lot about the lies we tell ourselves, right? The excuses that we give ourselves for not being able to do something. But it was something I think you and I talked about. And you just like, you're at the intersection of high achievers and woo woo.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, because what happens, right? When we're high achievers, we forget about ourselves. We forget about ourselves. We're doing everything for everybody else, and we forget about ourselves. And when we're not taking care of us, then we can't release the stress and we can't have fun. So what do you do to take care of you? And my favorite thing is when you're at that stress level and you don't know what to do, go turn on the music, sing at the top of your lungs, dance, and you're gonna laugh and stop taking yourself so seriously, right? And that's what I had to do, all right? And I have to be told that all the time. Okay, get out of your head. You know what you do. Stop taking yourself so seriously. There's going to be failures, and we fail forward. We learn from them, and just do it, right? Just do it. And that's what, when you're able to listen and repeat what your client is saying, that's when you laugh. That's when it's funny. That's when it's fun, right?
And
And
you can't take yourself that seriously. We have mutual coaches that we've worked with, and people think I'm crazy when I tell them that I spend a significant amount of money to travel across the country to work with a very high-end coach who teaches how to write books and how to give really amazing keynote speeches. And I bring him videos, which is a horrible exercise in humility, right? And we go through these videos and do nothing but laugh at me. Here's the difference. And I think as I say this, here's the difference. It's never from a place of malice.
no.
It's got to be the lightheartedness. Look at how miserable people are. Business is serious. I'm not saying it's not serious, but if you take yourself too seriously, you will burn out before you achieve what you want to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And burnout is huge in business as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, right? Because we don't trust a lot of what's around us. So therefore we have to control everything. And you can be a master, right? The old saying, you can know a lot about everything, but not a lot about something, right?
Yeah.
So that's what happens in business. And yes, when we're starting out, we don't have much choice but to do everything for ourselves, right? But at some point, you have to realize what you're good at and what you're not good at. Where do you need a coach to help you get through those things? And where you need to hire someone to do it, because you're going to be a lot more profitable at the end when you hire someone to do the stuff you don't like to do.
Yeah. I mean, and people think they're going to be miserable not having a little bit more money in the beginning. But the truth is, you're going to feel so much better focusing on only what you can do.
Yeah.
And it all grows faster. So I do want to back up a second, because a lot of my people were very successful in corporate, and then they become an entrepreneur for a variety of reasons and get frustrated, get overwhelmed, and are actually embarrassed that they're not making more money because of how good they were at their job, not yet realizing how different that is. So how did you end up leaving your job? Were you pushed gently out of the nest? Did you fly away? Like, I jumped off the cliff of my own volition.
I had the most, and everybody will say that, you had the most cushy job. And I'm like, what do you mean? You ran everything. It was a 30-person company, and I was the controller, and I really controlled everything. My bosses loved to fish. Okay, so they were in and out of the office, and my job was to take care of everything and make them feel as though they were. And I felt a lot like the ringleader in the Barnum and Bailey circus and the caged animal. And right? So I'd walk in every morning and I go back to the corner and I'm like, how am I going to do this again? Right? How am I going to do this again? How do I motivate my people to do something I hate doing? I hate accounting. I hate accounting. My first job out of college was accounting. I said, I'm never going to do accounting again. And guess what? There I was again doing accounting. And I was
like decades, right? You go to college for, isn't it? I mean, I see that over and over again. People who stay in a life that they hate.
And sometimes we have to. I mean, there's times that we have to, and we don't have the choice. And I made the choice as we built my husband's business, is that I was going to have the 9 to 5, and we were going to build his business. And that was always our intention. And the funny thing is I never came up for air to say, hey, we built his business.
Wait a minute, right. You didn't define what done looked like, so you just kept going.
It kept going. And I said, I turned 50 and I'm like, I have one career left in me. What is that going to be? One more career. I could do one more thing. And then I really went and do what I do with my clients. Okay. I went through the process. What is it I want to do? What is it I like to do? And what I found I really like to do is make sure that my employees were doing a job that they loved. Because I believe that when my employees were doing the job that they loved, they were more productive, more efficient, more effective, and I looked better.
Yeah.
So I hired people that were smarter than me. I made sure that the people that were in the chairs were doing what they wanted to do, was their passion. Okay. And when that happened, I was able to be in my passion, which was finding out what it is I want to do.
Other than being there.
Yeah. And I was mentoring them. I mentored some of them right out of their jobs. Okay. Because they didn't belong there, and I pushed that concept of it costs too much to hire somebody new against the wall. And I said, you know what? It costs too much to keep somebody who doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And that's a real business shift that people don't talk about. That people are like, it costs too much to train. It takes 2 years to train. Well, great. So I'd take 2 years. And I also believe I had the systems in place, that the systems run the business, the people run the systems, that I can plug people who want to be in there into the system. And it's not a huge learning curve.
Right.
Okay. If you can't do this, I mean, accounting is really about putting the number in the right place. I mean, let's not like, right. And it scares people. I know I'm making kind of a joke, right? But to me, right, if you can add and subtract and a negative and a positive, right, then you could do accounting and business.
Where the people who are good at it are really good at it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I absolutely agree with you, because it's one of those short-sighted problems. It's going to cost too much money to find and train the person. Okay, but what are the opportunity costs going on by keeping the wrong person? What is that doing to everybody else?
That's right.
Because nobody's working in a bubble. Yeah.
Right. Morale is the biggest one, right? You have one bummer person in there, it brings the morale for everybody.
So how did you leave? What ended up happening that you
I gave 6 months notice.
You're worse than me. I gave 90 days.
Right. Because I had to make sure that all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. I then consulted for the following 6 months. So 1 year later, we finally said, this is not how I'm going to build my business, is by continuing to do this. But that's what I did, because I couldn't walk away. I needed to be needed by that company. And when I finally said, I don't need that anymore, right? I need to be over here. My clients need me. My business needs me. I was able to say goodbye, right? And hello. And that's kind of what happened.
I hope you're enjoying this conversation about what can happen when you are ready to step into being the person you need to be for success. If you're looking for some inspiration, motivation, and some actual things you can do to help you become the person it takes, you are going to want to join an amazing group of entrepreneurs at the Ready to Conquer virtual event on May 6th through 8th. In just 3 days, we're going to dive deep into how to command your own plan so you can dictate your own outcome, how to work on your business and not stay stuck working in your business, and seriously build the business you dreamed of when you first decided to become an entrepreneur. Just go to conqueryourbusiness.com/ready to conquer and grab your ticket now. So the other fun thing, this had to have been our third conversation at least. And I knew what you did, and I knew what you used to do. And when we were coming up with your ideal client profiles and really looking at, well, what are your credentials? Who do you really love to help? Coming up with your marketing for that. You told me that one of your arenas, and I just have to talk about it because I love this as an example of I don't want to hear about how there's no opportunity for people. So one of your niches, for lack of a better word to come to me, is the camping world. And I'm going, okay, here's this woman with this high corporate background out of California, and you still behave like a businesswoman, because that, so do I. That's my background.
Right, that's what we do.
That's what we do. But at the same time, you're talking about infusing leadership and then you're like, yeah, so I'm giving a presentation for Camping World or whatever. And I just stopped, like, okay, that's actually bringing up more questions, not more answers. Where in the world did that come from?
Oh my God.
Because I don't think for a second, as you sit here with your shiny necklace, that you go camping. Okay. Let me just throw that out there.
Well, yeah, because camping to me is the Holiday Inn.
Right, exactly. Reservations, room service. I hear you.
So I have one of my dearest friends from high school, and I went on a cruise together. And it had to have been midnight that we start this this was us, this really intellectual conversation. And it started around her business, which is a horse camp. She does horse lessons and horse camp, but she doesn't do it from like the ground up, right? You have to learn how to take care of the horse. You have to learn how to feed the horse. You know how to put the saddle on the horse. So she does the whole thing before you can ever leave the arena. Okay. I'm like, I want to leave the arena.
I just want to get on the horse and go.
But I want to get on the horse, and I want to be able to do it when I get on it, right? I don't want this crap of cleaning shit
responsibility
in the arena, right?
Right.
You know exactly what it is. And so we start having this really and I don't know what here we go again. I know what so this conversation's been going on for years. I don't know who I want to work with. And she said to me, you know what? And she goes, the camping industry needs somebody like you. She goes, for 8 weeks of camp, these counselors and directors and owners do not take care of themselves. They don't know how to run a business, and they don't know how if they're successful, you can't even find out why.
It was by chance, not by strategy.
That's right. Exactly. And I thought about that, and we talked about it, and till 4 a.m, we kept going back and forth because I just kept having questions and questions and questions. And I said, okay, I'm going to try this out. And I said, I have the same program, leadership and self-care, right? They go together. You have to take care of you before you can be a good leadership, right? Leadership starts with you, one of the topics I speak on. Mm-hmm. And I started speaking at these, they have conferences all over the country. And I started speaking, and the camp people are the most fun people. Okay, so they're adults and they act like, I mean, they still do like campfires where they're singing around the campfires. I mean, I'm like, this is really like, this is fun. Okay, right. I'm all about the fun, right? And this is like,
you spent so many years in accounting, you went all the way the other way.
I went all the way the other way. And I'm like, okay, what do you wear to speak, right? And I'm wearing like my speaker clothes. And I'm like, I don't fit in with these people in my speaker clothes and my pretty necklace and my, you know, and it's like, okay, so what do you wear? Now I'm not going to wear, like, do you wear jeans? So this was my biggest dilemma is what do you wear to speak, right? But I just love the people and they love the concept. And so I love to impact people that impact the next generation of leaders. And that's what I do. And when I teach leadership, whether it's in a camp or we do it in a corporate, you know, I just spoke at Microsoft. So I go right. So from camp to Microsoft, go right. There's a, you know, but I teach leadership and
but it just shows, right. I mean, it just shows how universal some of the challenges are.
Yeah, they are. They really are. Right? A camp is a business. It's not any different than any other business.
Right. It shouldn't be anyway.
Their programming is a lot different, but we're not talking about programming. We're talking about it's a business. You have to fill X amount of seats. You have to have, you know, you have to have X amount of revenue to an X amount, you know, before you can hire the next person. I mean, It's all the same, right?
So tell me, I'm going to switch gears on you. Tell me what you are most proud of in that transition that you've made.
You know, oh my God, I'm so proud of so many things. I think that I was able to make the transition. But can I tell you the biggest thing for me? I watched my kids. Okay, and I adore my kids. So I have a 30-year-old daughter and a 25-year-old son. And they wanted to be involved all of a sudden in what I was doing. And they were interested in what I was doing. And it related to what they were doing. So my daughter as a teacher is like, you know, we're teaching social emotional learning, right, to the kids. And what are you teaching? The same exact thing to leaders and at camps, right? And my son just wanted to see from a business entrepreneurial perspective, that's where his background was just that how much success I was able to have. And you know what they both noticed? They're like, Mom, you're happy.
Yeah.
They noticed that. And I think that's what I'm most proud of is the fact that I am living, right, what I'm teaching. I am happy. It's not easy all the time, but this is fun. Like to me, to spend a half an hour with you is like fun. Okay, this is like
that. I have the same approach. And one of the things that you're doing, and you're not calling it that, but it's very true. And you know me and my volunteer work, and I'm very, very much a purpose-driven payday type of person. But one of the things that can sometimes be overlooked by moms is being an example to the next generation. You know, you talked about that's who you want to impact is the people who impact the next generation from your business, but you're also just doing it in your own home and in your own family, leading by examples. And when I have a lot of different women clients who have often said to me, I just want to be that example to my kids. Mm-hmm. And I think that's huge.
Yeah, and it took me, you are an example. They see everything, they hear everything. And you don't know what kind of job you're doing until they actually tell you.
What example were you setting being miserable but still going to work every day? You teach people, you teach them that it's okay to be miserable as long as you can pay the electric bill. And I get it. Sometimes people get stuck for X amount of time. You've got kids, insurance, things that need to be taken care of. But ultimately, what example do you want to set for your kids?
Right.
So I'm going to ask you the flip side of that. And you're not allowed to tell me that. So I want to ask you what your biggest challenge has been.
I don't know what I do.
You're not allowed to say that. But I love that with you because that was, and you were even cognizant of it, even as it came out of your mouth, that this was just your subconscious's way of slowing you down and stopping you and, trying to keep you back a little bit. And those of us with corporate backgrounds, I think it's even harder because we came from a generation where you got a job so that you had security in a conservative field. So your subconscious was having a field day with, freaking out. So you're not allowed to, that's not the answer, but what's been some of the biggest challenges, the real challenge, not the one you created for yourself temporarily?
I think it's perfection, right? When we do something over and over and over and over, right? I had a potential client say this to me yesterday. I knew how to do my job with my eyes closed. I don't know how to do this. And that is it's the high achiever, right? Which I am a high achiever. I am a type A personality. I am a D on a disc. You can, whatever personality,
there's a reason we get along.
Right? Whatever personality test I take, it's the same. And I'm aware of that. But not being able to be perfect at everything along the way and being able to understand you're going to fail and it's okay to fail because that's how you learn. Okay. So we laugh when we talk about, I didn't know what I did. It was because I didn't have the perfect words to tell people what I did. And when you gave me permission to say, just talk, that's what you do really good. You talk. You know how to talk to people. Stop emailing them. Stop whatever you're doing. Call the damn people up and let them experience you. And then they're going to want you, right? So that goes back to sales. And sales was something that accounting people don't sell. That's true. Right. But that is a misconception though, right? Accounting people don't sell. Math people aren't creative. And I had to learn that I am really creative analytically. All right. I can take that brick wall behind you apart. And when I put it back together, it won't look like that.
Right.
But it'll be just what that brick wall is supposed to look like.
And, you made a really good point because one of the things that stops us are the stories that we tell ourselves. And most of the stories aren't even ours. It's accounting people aren't creative. Well, let's take that apart for a second for you. You didn't even like accounting. So here you were stuck, and we all do this, and we're just using your story as an example right now because we all do this. You were stuck thinking you couldn't do something because you were already labeling yourself due to a position you didn't even want to have.
Right. Absolutely.
And it's so hard, if not impossible, to ever see our own versions of that. And we all have them.
We do. And that's why as entrepreneurs, right, or business women that are stuck in their jobs need to be able to bounce things off the wall, right? And that, I do that with my clients, right? We put up the Velcro wall and we brainstorm and we just fling things at the wall and some will stick and some won't stick, but boy, the ones that stick, it's magic.
And the other thing you're doing, which is really interesting because and I know your issue with perfectionism, it's not uncommon. I've had that problem as well. But once you start to redefine what you're doing as just data points, just figuring it out, you lose the need to be perfect because you lose the expectation of it.
Yes. And the one thing that also on top of that I learned that if I kept spinning in perfection, I was getting nothing done. Right. And perfectionism is in your mind.
Right.
Like I could look at the brick wall and I'm like, I could never use that brick wall. Why does it have all these different colors in it? Right. And I'd be like, okay, I have to fill in and clean it all up. And you're like, put up the brick wall, stand in front of it, and it's awesome not being perfect, right? And do the show. And we do the show and we're like, we don't know what we're going to say. We don't know where we're going to go. I don't know what questions you're going to ask me, I'm just going to pull, but it's going to be fun. And that's it.
You're just going to be you. And this is the other thing is one of the big differences, again, coming out of corporate, most of the time, success in a job, especially a large company job or a bigger company job, or a traditionally conservative field, success is tied to fitting in the box. And yet, as an entrepreneur, success is very much tied to being authentically you. And most of us who don't become entrepreneurs until 30, 40, 50 years old no longer have any idea who that authentic self is, because we've done such a strong job of fitting in the box in order to succeed.
Yeah.
And peeling away the who you should be layers to get to who you are can be horrifying.
Yeah.
So if people want to continue this conversation with you, what is the best way? Well, it'll be all in the show notes and everything, but for those people who are just listening, what's the best way to contact you if people realize they're not happy and hopefully this conversation will inspire them to realize being happier will actually help your business. It goes hand in hand. What's the best way for them to reach you?
You can go to speakwithmarsha.com. So that's speak with MARSHA.com. And you can schedule a appointment with me and we'll just sit and we'll chat and we'll figure out where you're stuck. We'll figure out how is there a path to get you unstuck? Because there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and a little bit of fun and a little bit of happiness and poking some fun at each other is it's so good for your business, but more importantly, it's so good for you and for everything you're trying to do in your life.
Absolutely. I say it all the time. I didn't quit a 6-figure job to be miserable.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining me here today.
Oh, thank you so much. This was so much fun, Erin. You have so much to share with your audience and your clients. You're just amazing. And
thank you. Yeah. I always laugh. I've had to pay my own coaches a lot of money to be able to listen to that and just say thank you.
Thank you, right? To receive, right? That's the hardest thing. It is hard. And that's like the first lesson that you can learn in business and in life is, I like your earrings. Thank you.
Thank you. The Midwesterner in me wants to tell you they were on sale, but they weren't.
The deal. I'm not sure it's just the Midwesterner in you. What's such a deal, And I do it all the time. My husband will say, I really like your shoes. They were $10. He's like, I don't care how much they cost.
Yeah.
Because if they're $50, who cares? I know. And he goes, but I know that's going to be your answer every single time.
Every time. Yeah. All right. Hopefully people reach out to you. I know you have so much you can offer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining me on the Ready Yet podcast. I get so motivated by the amazing accomplishments of the remarkable people I meet, and I'm excited to be able to share some of their stories with you. You can find more episodes of Ready Yet at your favorite source for podcasts or at conqueryourbusiness.com. And if you've already decided that you are ready to become the person you need to be to achieve your big goals, feel free to reach out to find out how I can support you in your efforts. Or check out the Work with Erin page on the Conquer Your Business website. I also invite you to share this podcast with anyone you know who loves to learn and be inspired. And if you're so inclined, I'd be absolutely grateful for any reviews you'd like to share as well. Thanks again for joining me. This has been Erin Marcus, hopefully inspiring and helping you to go conquer your big dreams.